All right, good morning, everybody. Actually, good night by the time this posts. Welcome to the 2023 SEMA Show. Here we are, and it's starting out the West Hall, which is going to be a great way to start our day because a lot of the big YouTubers like Stradman should have their cars here on display. So we'll go find those for you, get that coverage for you so you can see what they actually look like, get my perspective as well. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is John McDonald, and you have joined us here at Life at Speed. We'll be bringing you coverage for SEMA all week long and probably going into the subsequent weeks as well. So let's go around and start out our day and see what kind of amazing vehicles we can find here. Well, thanks to James posting on his YouTube channel where to find his Aventador here at the Flexus Shield booth, you can go ahead and get right to it and check it out, and it does look absolutely incredible in person. It's definitely a lot wider, of course, than the factory Aventadors, but it's hard to really gauge how much wider unless you have another Aventador next to it, which we don't have here for comparisons, but overall it looks really good. I like the nice touches, of course, with the pink on the wheels as well as the stripe he did up on the roof pillar like he did on his Roadster, and it's just nice to see the car come together here and on display. Of course, as you guys know, if you've been on the channel, I'm not the biggest fan of Lamborghinis overall, more of a Ferrari guy, but I can definitely appreciate the work and effort that goes into building these types of vehicles. Behind me at the Jade Ceramic booth, they've got this gorgeous second generation Nova, and of course this Nova continues in the trend that I'm really becoming fond of with the Resto mods, and it's really clean attention to detail. And they've got the panel gaps are just absolutely perfect on this car. They've gone ahead and upgraded the front and rear windows and got rid of the trim and made it a flush mount windshield. Of course, it's got a blown LS engine in it. The interior they've upgraded as well. The only thing I'm not a huge fan on, which I'm just not a fan of in general, is this new trend with the digital screens for your instrument clusters and your controls, and it's the direction things are going, but of course I prefer my old analog stuff, which is why I have like the Dakota Digital RTX line of gauges in my Challenger. But overall, this car is absolutely stunning. I love the color combination on it, and it just turned out really, really well. Now, one thing every year for the SEMA Show, of course, is the swag that you get. Now, from year to year, it fluctuates from how much swag and the quality of the swag, but there are a couple of constants every year that I go ahead and make sure that I get. And one of those are the cat skin cows. And I've got, I don't even know how many at this point, but I've got pretty much every single cat skin cow that they've come out with since I started coming back in 2002. Now this year, they've been shrunken. They're a little smaller than normal, but they're still great, and we're still gonna add it to the collection. All right, of course, DDE has one of their cars here on display at the, Zetec booth. I know I'm butchering that name, but they've offered their own wrap colors for the 720 GTR, and they have it wrapped here on the Lamborghini. Now, this color definitely does not come through very well on video. It looks pretty good. I have to say though, after seeing the 720 GTR in person, the wrap does not look as good as the paint does, but then again, how often are you going to find a situation where you get the wrap to look really good as the paint? And they're getting a lot better with the wraps. The technology has come a long way on vinyl in the last 10 years, but you're still not quite to the level that you get with the paint. Now for this year's SEMA Show, I got some insight when I was doing my media tour earlier this weekend. They actually have 2,200 different companies on display. Now at their peak before the pandemic, they were at about 2,400, and then at their low after the pandemic, they were at 1,900. So it's nice to see that the SEMA Show is rebounding a lot from what happened during the pandemic and this decrease in the show size. They're also expecting over 160,000 attendees, and there are over 1,500 cars on display here at all the various halls. So there's a lot to see, a lot to cover, and you're gonna wanna stick around all week for all the videos that I upload. All right, if your C8 Z06 isn't extreme enough, how about if you replace the body with a forged carbon body? I have to say, this is really extreme and is pretty crazy to see, and it would definitely make your Corvette stand out at your local events. All right, this 56 Corvette restomod is, again, absolutely incredible on how they're doing the restomod, making everything updated. And the wheels are an oversized representation of the original stock wheels. The instrument cluster is still analog, but modern touches on the electronics to just make them more reliable. All the fit and finish, everything is just bringing up to the next level, to the new standards. The only thing that I'm not a big fan of this one is using the LT1 engine. And it's not that using the engine itself is bad, but when you pop the hood and you look at what the engine part looks like compared to the rest of the outside of the car, it just looks a bit out of place. So something like this is where I would use one of those new LS kits from Low Car that looks like a 50s small block Chevy fuel injection engine, but is actually a modern LS. Other than that, and the car is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, when the hood's down, the car's driving down the road, it just looks stunning and you have no idea what's under the hood. But incredible craftsmanship, great attention to detail, and one of my favorites so far at the 2023 SEMA Show. Even the Volkswagen Beetles are getting resto-modded these days, and this one is one of the cleanest that Volkswagens in general I've seen in a really long time. The attention to detail is really cool, the modern touches, everything about it, the choice for the colors on the bright work is just a nice, clean Volkswagen, and I just love the design of it. When I heard the Ring brothers were bringing a Rolls-Royce to SEMA Show this year, I knew I had to find it because they're one of my favorite builders these days, and they always do something completely out of the box, and I just love their style. Well, sure enough, we found the Rolls-Royce that they brought, and of course, it is in true Ring brothers fashion. It has a supercharged LT4 under the hood, and of course, they've upgraded the interior and everything else, and it really feels like what you would expect from a Ring Brothers Rolls-Royce. You get the top notch on the luxury with the Rolls-Royce, plus the attention to detail that you get out of the Ring Brothers, and I'm sure the performance is just unreal out of it. So a really cool build, and definitely unique, and Ring Brothers are definitely known for finding unique vehicles to go ahead and turn into amazing builds beyond just your typical cars that they always do, like your Mustangs, Camaros, and Chargers. Another gorgeous car they've got here at the BASF booth this year is this 68 Camaro Resto mod. And again, it's another real high quality build with a lot of great attention to detail, and the execution is just really well done. There's one thing though that I'm seeing on this car, which is an emerging trend I'm seeing in a lot of resto mods that doesn't work for me personally, is you're getting a lot of these incorporations of the hexagon shape that you see a lot in your Lamborghinis. And so you're seeing it in the upholstery, around the instrument cluster, even the door handle on this one. And for me, it works on Lamborghini because how angular the design of that body is. But on these classic muscle cars that are more rounded and softer angles, for me, having the harsh angles of the hexagon just doesn't work. This baby bird at the BASF booth is incredible work, especially on the attention detail on the interior. All the custom work on the interior is just really incredible, really well done. You can tell they spent a lot of time and energy to make sure all of the interior panels are perfect. The only downside with the interior on this one is where they've got the AC vents. They've got them both on both sides underneath the dash, which takes up a lot of the footwell. And these cars aren't notorious for having a lot of interior space to begin with, so having almost no legroom now really is going to make it a challenge for comfort on the long drives, or even maybe drives around town. But for having it here on display, it looks gorgeous. The exterior execution, the colors, the custom badging for the Freebird is just really well thought out. The only Q on the exterior I'm not a huge fan of is the grille shell. For me, I think it should be recessed a little further back and maybe a darker color so it doesn't stand out as much. So this 64 Galaxy is what I would say is probably like your ultimate modern NASCAR interpretation of the vintage 64 Galaxy would have been, because they would have been racing these cars in NASCAR. And this car, from a incorporation of technologies, is just unreal. It's got the all aluminum FE motor from Shelby America, the modern version of the classic FE engine, which you would have gotten in this car back in 64, but a lot less weight, being all aluminum instead of an iron block. Plus they push the engine back so that way it's actually a front mid-engine car like my Viper is. The front of the engine actually sits behind the front wheels of the vehicle. And so it's really, really well thought out and engineered for a perspective of handling and performance, as well as aerodynamics. It's got a full belly pan under with a big diffuser on the back with a front splitter up front. It's such a really cool build with really cool details that you just don't see very often. I've seen a couple of vehicles in the past. They've done like a Superbird and another Plymouth to make them more of a modern NASCAR style, which is really cool. And they've done really well on those cars, but even those cars, I don't, from my memory, aren't up to the standard and caliber that this Galaxy is. All right, and that's gonna be a wrap on day one here at SEMA 2023. We got a lot of coverage for you today, but we still have so much more to see. Unfortunately, we ran out of time today, but if you stick around tomorrow, we'll have another video getting you a ton of more great coverage here at this year's event.